Hello and welcome to the TTI Distribution Download, the podcast where we talk about all things happening in the world of electronic components with the specialists of TTI. Today it's another installment of big ideas and little known facts about connectors with John Sandy of TTI and Dan Venuto of Molex.
Hello, this is Dan Venuto with Molex, and I have John Sandy here with TTI. Today, we have a very special guest coming to us from Lisle, Illinois, Molex's world headquarters, John Crimmins, who's a global product manager in our PSBU segment. He specifically focuses on mid-power products, and John has a long tenure with Molex and a lot of industry experience, everything from sales leadership to now product management, has actually been involved in distribution. But John, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Thank you very much, Dan and John. Yes, my background, I graduated from Marquette University with a journalism degree back in 1990, and then I worked in professional sports for the Richmond, Virginia Braves minor league team for the Atlanta Braves. And then I worked for the Chicago White Sox for 2 years. And in the summer of 1993, Major League Baseball had a lockout. So my job was eliminated. My father worked for AT&T. He told me a company, Molex, was hiring. And I sure did not want to get into the business world, but I needed a job. And I got a job in customer service in 1993. And this is when laptops were booming. And our phones would ring off the hook with Compact Computer, which is now Hewlett-Packard, and Motorola, and all these technical companies. And a lot of orders were just coming in. So I was pretty much an order taker. And TTI was one of our biggest distributors then, and one of our biggest distributors, our biggest worldwide distributor now. And the phones just rang off the hook. So I learned by fire and trial, and it was rough, but I caught on. And then after doing this for about a year, somebody asked me if I wanted to go in outside sales, and I talked to a lot of the sales folks, and I'm thinking, I think I'm half as smart as those folks, so I think I could figure this out. And in 1996, I went into sales, working for Fred Bell and Pat Killian in the Chicagoland area. In 1999, I became a distribution manager for the Midwest, working with about 6 or 7 TTI branches through the Midwest. And then in 2006, I became the district sales manager for Illinois and Wisconsin. And I did that 10 years to the day. And then in 2016, Trent Perkins and Ken Stead came to me and asked me if I wanted to come into product. And the fits in my world where I handled, which pretty much the Midwest, which was very industrial area, a lot of power connectors. I sure didn't want to jump into a up and coming kind of a startup product. I wanted to get into something that was pretty steady. So they put me in as the global product manager for MiniFit. And from there, it's opened up a lot of avenues for me.
No, that's great, John. I really like the beginning of your career, you were in the kind of sports management industry. So, and then you made the flip over here to electronics and connectors. So I guess if you would have stayed on that sports management track, you'd probably be the president of the Bears right now.
Could be, or the field goal kicker for the Dallas Cowboys.
Uh-oh, subtle dig there. But anyway, John, you're part of the Power and Signal Group, and do you want to talk about what makes the Power and Signal Group such a great fit for distribution?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the Power and Signal Group is the core products that put Molex on the map many years ago, and we've expanded with various power connectors. Molex has a lot of divisions, but our core products are the power connectors, anywhere from a milliamp up to 50 amps of power for mid-level products. These products can be power tools, generators, air conditioners, washer dryers, just all avenues of products, pretty much everything but military products. These are not mil spec. They're also not US car. However, they are used in a lot of automotive applications, such as power windows, electric locks, electric seats, radio infotainment. It's not used on anything on engine or anything safety related. But the mini-fit connector came out in the mid 80s, and it was to compete with a big rival connector company who had a round contact, very popular power connector, a white nylon connector. So we tried to copy that connector. We did, but still probably 95% of the sales went to the competitor. So we learned real early that it's really hard to compete with an established product. So we wanted a completely different product. So in the mid 80s, the Molex engineers created Mini Fit, which is a square contact terminal which has 4 points of contact. And it's really good connectivity. And it's just got a lot of features that our competitor did not have. Multiple points of contact, lower mating forces, and a lot of different wire gauge options. For example, Mini Fit, you can have as thick as wire as 16 gauge up to a thin wire as 28 gauge. So customers really like the versatility of Mini Fit.
You want to talk a little bit about, the advancements within the Fit family. This is a strategically important line to Molex. As we went to Mini Fit and then Micro Fit, what are some of the solutions that we came out with to iterate on that technology?
Sure. So Mini Fit is a wire-to-wire, wire-to-board, and board-to-board connector. But sometimes it was a little bit overkill. So in the early 90s, we came out with Micro Fit, which has a little less power, and it will handle 20 to 30 gauge. But in compact footprint applications, Micro Fit was a really good connector. So that pretty much up until about 2015, it was pretty much Mini Fit or Micro Fit. Those were our power connector options. And in the around 2015, with a lot of competition from lower cost manufacturing sites and a lot of different connector manufacturers out there, we had heavy competition on Mini Fit and Micro Fit. And what we wanted to do was come up with some more versatile options. So we came out with Mega Fit, which handles up to about 25 amps at the time. As of today, it handles up to 30 amps because we have a 10 gauge option, and Mini Fit is capped at about 13 amps. So Mega Fit is for very high power applications. It was quite a success in the 2015, 2016. It's continuing to grow. And as we still had challenges, we came up with Ultra Fit, which has 1 more amp of power than Mini Fit, and we thought that would really help. And it's been a success. But one thing with Ultra Fit, most of the customers we talk to like the keying options. With Mini Fit, we have one color. It's white. It's a white nylon connector, natural color. And customers like the product a lot, but sometimes they might put 3 or 4 on their printed circuit board. And as you design in the connector, each one of these connectors has a different feature. One might be for the fan, one might be for power, one might be for an LED monitor. And as customers design, they might design it in Texas, but they might outsource it to a low labor country. And the challenges were that the contract manufacturer could mate the LED connector with the power connector. And a lot of times customers would come to us and say, that's a challenge. They need to make this foolproof, because right now they're putting labels on the connectors, and that's a little more labor, and they have to do it in multiple languages. So the engineers in Molex, we thought about coming up with something foolproof. So with Ultra Fit and Nano Fit, we have 4 different options. We have a single row, a dual row, and then a black color and a natural color. So it gives the customer, it allows them, if they want to use Ultra Fit, they can use 4 different connectors on the board that cannot be mismated. So that was a nice feature. And then we came out with Nano Fit, which is a little less in size. It's actually 2.5 millimeter versus Micro Fit 3 millimeters. And it takes up less footprint, less real estate on the board. And that has the same keying options as Ultra Fit. So that's been a real big hit in the market. And we saw an avenue there, and we've really jumped on that with Scuba has a one color now, but by mid 2023, we will have 6 different color keyed options. And jumping back to Microfit, we have Microfit Plus, and that has about 5 different options that'll be coming out in the summer of 2023.
So, John, as we talk about how that product range is developed and giving the customer many more options, how is the part that distribution plays in this developed over that same time, and what is it about the PSBU product range that lends itself so well to distribution, and what benefits does the group see from distribution, particularly when it comes to servicing the customer?
Great question. So Molex, we're very strong quality, very good innovative products. We're not good at logistics at all, and we struggle there. And when we release these NPIs, new product introductions, we have a lot of options. And with distribution, specifically TTI, they have better marketing tools than we do, and customers are touching TTI's website. I've seen statistics like 20 times more a day than they would touch Molex's website, because TTI has a lot more offerings. So by showing these products to the TTI website and having TTI promote these products, it's really helped get exposure for these customers, and it's given us a wider avenue of customers to look at these products. So that's helped a lot. Also, with the products, TTI stock, any new NPI that we release, TTI is buying, distribution's also buying them, but TTI is jumping on every one of them. And it really gives the customer, when a customer is looking for products, when they ask what the lead time is, factory lead time's often 8 to 10 weeks, sometimes a lot longer these last few years, but TTI is immediate inventory. So that's helped us tremendously. Also with TTI, they have roughly, I think, John, 30 branches in North America. You have more folks on the street, more folks talking to customers than Molex does. So that helps us tremendously also.
As we look at the customer base now, a lot of customers are looking for complete solutions. They're looking for more than just a connector in a lot of cases. How does our value add program, specifically with our off-the-shelf cable assemblies and pre-crimp leads, help the customer in their journey from design to production?
Great question, Dan. A lot of the challenges the customer has is speed. They have an opportunity. They want to evaluate various connectors, and a lot of times they'll come to Molex, and they'll come to probably 2 or 3 other leading connector manufacturers to come up with a solution. In the past, a customer might order a sample or order products from distribution, and then they would have to buy the wire, prep the wire, get a hand tool, and crimp the terminal. And I'm going to crimp a terminal different than you would, Dan, different than you would, John. It's a little bit different, and there is some talent to doing a hand crimp, and the folks who do hand crimps a lot are better at it than others. And a lot of times there was a lot of quality concerns and quality issues. And about 5-6 years ago, we thought about how do we streamline this and make it easier for the customer, because we want to make it easy. So we came up with off-the-shelf cables. So for example, if a customer wants a 4-circuit mini fit connector, they're going to need 4 wires, and they can click on our website, go into OTS, off-the-shelf cables, pull up mini fit, and they will give you options for pre-crimp leads or 3 different cables, 6 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches, with a connector on it. So that customer could order parts. It's 1:00 Central Time right now. They'll have these parts tomorrow. And these are crimped by Molex tools and by an actual automated tool. So you get the proper crimp, and it's passed all our quality inspection. So that's helped the customer a lot. And I think what we all see is the first connector in there, if it works pretty well, the customer is going to run with it. I know in my experience, sometimes we've delivered a connector 10 days later, and the customer might say, hey, this is a really good connector, but the window of this design closed, And we went with one of your competitors because they had parts off the shelf from a distributor. And I'll say, well, when is the next design window? They might say it might be 2 to 3 years. So to get the proper connector in, we want to be quick. And the off-the-shelf cable program has helped us dramatically. And TTI has been a big part of that because they have inventory on pretty much all these cables.
So if we look at that in the logical development, John, once the customer decides what it is he actually wants, do you have an option then for TTI and the customer to enable the customer to pick the exact solution they need and then get a quote from that?
Correct. With the cable creator project, we can get off-the-shelf cables to the customer. TTI, it's on the TTI website, on our website, the cable creator, and the customer can go in, they can put in their own specifications, wire gauge, length, connector, and they can get a ballpark quote it'll go right through TTI or the distributor choice the customer chooses, and they can get a ballpark quote within a few hours, which is very helpful for the customer.
So just quickly coming back to TTI and Molex, obviously we've had a long relationship, but I'm interested, certainly from your perspective, and you've touched that relationship from the sales side, the product side as well as customer service side. What is it that makes the TTI Molex relationship so special?
What we really like about TTI, there's a lot of distributors out there, and they have a lot on their line card, but TTI really focuses on interconnects. And we treat TTI as a customer, and TTI treats us as a value manufacturer, and we're really a strong partner with each other. And the good feeling is if you walk into a TTI branch, the inside folks, the product managers, the outside folks, the general manager, there's a working relationship between the Molex folks and the TTI folks because we are one of TTI's biggest manufacturers. So a TTI employees probably looking at Molex every hour when you're in the branch. So they're very familiar with our products. They can talk intelligently to our customer, and it helps us dramatically.
Absolutely, John. And just to follow up on that, you had mentioned the local branch presence with local product managers. How do you value that? Because that's kind of unique nowadays. A lot of people are going to virtual offices. Product managers are all at corporate somewhere in Denver or Phoenix. But how do you see TTI with local product management support? How do you value that?
So some real life examples are, in every market, TTI has a product manager, and a lot of time the inside team or the outside team gets an opportunity. It could be somebody building a blender and they need a power connector to power up that blender. So a lot of times we'll hear from the outside sales engineer at TTI and the product manager, and they'll say, hey, we've got an opportunity at this blender manufacturer. They need a power connector. Molex, you have lots of choices. Can you guide us with something that would probably fit in this space? And a lot of times we can jump on a Teams call or we can make a live sales call with TTI. Often TTI will be at the customer and they'll set up a Teams call, and we can jump on the phone with the customer live and TTI live. And that's led to some real life wins. And once you get it designed in, you could have it for many, many years to come. For example, I'm working on something with Chris Howden, who's the Molex connector specialist for TTI, on an opportunity he has in the South where a big white good manufacturer has been using a competitor product, and they have an option. They have a design window. So we're right on the cutting edge of designing what we want and what TTI can recommend. So it helps us a lot.
Coming back to your experience in the product management side of things, and obviously having just gone through what would mostly be regarded or generally be regarded as a pretty challenging 2022, How do you see the market, the outlook, and the challenges changing or developing as we move into 2023?
I would say 2023, to be honest, it's a little bit scary. I know we all went through 2020 when it started out real bad, and then 2020 ended on a pretty good high note, and 2021 and 2022 first half were outstanding. But we've seen the point of purchase slow down a lot in the later half of 2022 and looking into 2023. However, the design cycles are still going on and engineers are still designing in new products. And that's where we really need TTI and the Molex sales team to be working on these new projects. The volume might not be there in 2023, even in 2024. But if we really believe if we can get print position, once this market picks up, we're in a really good position to grow revenue. And the great thing is TTI has these parts in stock, a lot of the new design. So that's a real good feeling. But 2023, it is a big challenge. I can say our second half of 2022 was about 40% less in bookings than the beginning of 2022. So a little bit scary times, but I think a lot of the customers, a lot of our contract manufacturers and cable houses and board houses, they're sitting on a lot of inventory. So hopefully customers can pull this inventory and it'll put us in a good position to continue to service the customer.
Yeah, John, you mentioned inventory. I think one of the things, too, we're seeing is not just the customers with inventory, but some of our distributors have, doubled their inventory values from the beginning of 2022 to where we're at today in January of 2023. But I think one of the things that we could take some guidance from with you is just remembering that these customers are still in design cycles. There's still an opportunity to go out and find connector wins, solution wins, cable assembly wins. And that's where we really see TTI shining, out there in front of the customer, talking to them, finding those new designs, but also backing that up with a significant amount of inventory for our customers. Especially now, if we see a downturn in the economy or something, customers are going to want to carry less inventory. And, TTI is here with the inventory, with the financial capacity to hold inventory for the customer. So I honestly see potentially TTI, shining during a time where potentially we, things may not look as good in the economy.
Yeah, I think 2023 is going to be challenging, and I think we're all in a position to support as much as possible. John, I'd like to come back and pick up on something you said, that the customers are still obviously very active in their design cycles. Historically, Molex has been, and the PSBU group has particularly been, very active in new product introductions, as we talked about earlier. How do you see that rate of NPI activity going as we moving along as we go through 2023?
The NPI design is still very strong. In 2022, my group, the low power group, we normally release 7 or 8 new products a year in my specific low mid power range. And last year we only released 4 products. We had some challenges obtaining resins and plastics and metal, but for this year we're planning on releasing about 11 to 12 new products, and customers are excited about that because they're designing with the electrical vehicle market. That's a strong market for us. Also the home appliance market, which is very strong with washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners. That's still a strong market for us that we're trying to capture print position on. So with NPIs, that with Molex, that'll never stop. We're always trying to be cutting edge and look for trends in the markets and coming out with new products ahead of our competition. That's our goal.
So John, thanks very much. Appreciate that. So thank you, everybody. That was John Crimmins from Molex, and we would very much like to thank you for your time, John, and thank you for your insights, and thank you for the information on the Molex PSBU.
Hey, great talking to you. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, John. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the TTI Distribution Download. For more information on any of the topics you heard about today, reach out to your nearby TTI branch at 1-800-CALL-TTI or visit us online at tti.com.